Actually, nowadays, like everybody using this Oauth only for the securing RESTful web services. We have different authentication providers. Like we can use LDAP, JWT token, Oauth, and Okta. Some kind of Okta framework they recently introduced something. I think so. These kind of things are there. We are going to see this is every project mostly they are using Oauth through. So that's why I'm giving some idea about Oauth2, how we can secure our RESTful web services using Oauth2. Oauth2 is nothing but open authentication to provide to provide security for our RESTful web services. So actually here, just to make it better understand, to make it better understand, I'll show one real-time scenario here. So then we'll get some clarity about that one, how the Oauth will work internally. So actually, if you take one website, they implemented Oauth there. If you take hackerrank.com, this is a website. This is the website they implemented Oauth. So actually here, if you click on sign up button here, if you click sign up and code, see if you observe this one, actually here the exact what implementation they did here. If you observe one, suppose if you want to sign up, we need to enter the first name, email, and password, right? So if you not don't want to enter this details, you can connect with this one of the third party API, either either Facebook or Gmail or LinkedIn and GitHub. These are the third party API. To you can redirect your request to this third party API to access this hacker rank website. It will hacker rank will connect with the GitHub account. From GitHub it can bring your credentials, and you can automatically log in into the hacker rank website. Actually exact the OAuth implementation they implemented here. So if you observe here, suppose if I wanted to connect with GitHub repository, if you click on GitHub, see you can here it is asking sign into the GitHub to continue to HackerRank. So I am entering my details here. Okay, here I enable two-factor authentication. I need to enter authentication code 149613. Okay, so if you click on verify, see it is it went to GitHub. From there it taken my user details, and with that user details it is logged into HackerRank automatically. See if I open my GitHub account, just to make it confirm to make it confirm see if you go settings here, if you go applications, if you observe here to install GitHub apps, authorized GitHub apps, and authorized Oauth apps. If you click on authorized apps, see this one HackerRank. You have granted two applications to access your account, HackerRank, and this is one I created last week. So here you're able to observe authorized OAuth apps, HackerRank, and GitHub. So HackerRank it is talking to the OAuth application to GitHub to OAuth protocol. Through OAuth, actually here two things comes into the picture. One is authorization server and resource server. Actually here the flow is when you send a request from HackerRank to GitHub, first authorization server has to approve the request. Then once authorization server is approve the request, then authorization server will send one token, one refresh to access token. With that access token, will send request to the GitHub resource server. On the GitHub resource server will verify that access token. it is valid token or not. If the valid token, if it is valid token, then GitHub resource server will grant permission to the hacker rank with valid user details. Then hacker rank able to log in their site with the help of GitHub repository. Here I'm not created account by entering the details. I connected through GitHub. So here I logged in with GitHub user. So to make it understand, I prepared one diagram here. If you observe here, so I observe here. This is a client application. My client application is HackerRank. I'm sending client application to authentication server, GitHub authentication server with the client ID. Actually, in GitHub, whenever configuring our Oauth application, it will give client ID and secret ID, secret code. That client ID and secret code we need to configure in our client application. With that client application, when I send request to the GitHub authentication server, from authentication server, same client ID, it is talking to the authorization server, GitHub authorization server. When GitHub authorization server once the authorize, it will generate one access token to the client application. With that access token, again the client application will try to access GitHub resource server. GitHub resource server. With GitHub resource server, it will validate it is proper access token and it will encrypt that access token. It will share user details to the our HackerRank application. Then HackerRank able to log in into the by using the details. This is actually the Oauth exact implemented this HackerRank application. So to make it understand better, so I taken this scenario here. So uh, I'll create one application, simple Springboot application. There I'll configure. I'll connect with GitHub repository. From GitHub repository, I'll grant the permission. It will generate the access token. That same access token I'll connect with GitHub resource server. With that GitHub resource server, I'm able to access my REST endpoint. So then you can get better idea by seeing that example. But this is actual internal Oauth flow will run like this. In any application, if you take Oauth implementation, this is actual flow it will run. Yeah, so I'll create one simple application to make it understand. Then you'll get better idea. That is actually Oauth flow. Actually, in Oauth authorization server and resource server will comes into the picture. Once authorization server is approved, then it will generate one access token. That the access token again will contact resource server to get the user details. To get the user details to log in client application. So if you take here, I'll try to create. Yeah, okay. I'll create application here. If you take new Spring Starter project. Here I'm giving Spring hyphen Oauth2 hyphen exam. Oauth2 hyphen exam. I'm artifact ID same Oauth2 examples. Send the demo and package I'm giving again Oauth2. So then everything okay. Then click next. Here we need to select. Hello. Palu.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think I'm. You are calling me. So okay. Okay. Here I need to expose REST endpoint. Simple. Just I'll create very simple application to understand very easily. So I need Spring Web Starter and I need think cloud security something.
OPS.
Uh, Cloud security, Spring Cloud security, and other one is Oauth Starter as well. Oauth Cloud Oauth. Yeah. Click next and finish. Those dependencies enough to work with Oauth. It is importing the project. I'll create very simple application. I'll expose a very simple REST endpoint. From there, I'll try to connect with my GitHub account. Through GitHub, I'll get authorization, and once they get authorization, after I'll try to access GitHub resource server with that access token. Uh, After GitHub accessing GitHub resource server, it will grant permission. Then I'm able to access my application with that user, GitHub user, successfully. It's building the project. Yeah, this is simple application. I think I can create endpoint separately. Otherwise, I can create here itself. Then not a problem. Not a problem. So what I do is I will enable what here. Yeah, this one. Enable Oauth2 SSO single sign-on. You need to enable this annotation to work with Oauth. Here, what I do is I'll create very simple REST endpoint. I'll create very simple REST endpoint. So that is string, public string, something I given message. Here I'm here. Okay, something return null present. Sorry. What I do is I will take here one security package. We have a class called java.security package. We have a class called principal. That principal class, by using that principal class, we can get the user ID. We can print the user ID. So principal something. Yeah, this one principal class. It comes from Java security core package. So here I'm making get service, get mapping. Just here I'll configure simple URL, get URL. To make it as a REST endpoint, we need to use REST controller, right? So I'm using REST controller here. So what I do is here strings. What I do is hi. Hi. I'll try to print the username here. Username principal dot yeah get name and I can get simple welcome to through example something a simple message I'm getting with that user. This user I'll get it from the GitHub because my application will talk with Oauth to get authorization and resource server to get resource talk with authorization. I'll here I'll talk configure with GitHub. I'll contact GitHub. Uh, so control here. Yes. Uh, yes. Okay. And I think here we need to configure the details. Here we need to configure our GitHub details and client ID, client secret ID. We need to configure here to get client ID and client secret ID. We need to go here. We need to create the application to get client ID and secret ID. So if you go to developer settings, OAuth apps, uh, click no OAuth app. Here you need to give the application name here. So what I do is I'll give same name here, refactor, rename. I'll give same, I'm giving, we can give any name, just I'm giving for naming convention purpose, I'm giving here URL, same URL, HTTP localhost, I think. It by default, we did not change port number, right? Yeah, you need to give that same URL, and here also same URL. Once the register application will get, once the register GitHub in GitHub, this Oauth2 application will get client ID and secret ID. See, client ID and client secret. These things we need to configure in our application.properties file. Then our application can access to this your GitHub server. Application logo is not required. Update this application. Okay, that's it. Here what I do is I'll configure the details here. So instead of writing, I copy it somewhere. I think Springboot. Yeah. Yes. Yes. These things I need to configure there. What I do is I'll convert this into the YAML file, because that in YAML file notation, just I'm converting to the YAML file notation. Here I'm configuring here. Okay. Okay. Here in this YAML, in this file, I need to give client ID and client secret to connect with our GitHub access. Uh, Here, if you observe here, user authorization URI. This is your OAuth standard URL. OAuth/authorize. This is OAuth standard URL. OAuth/authorize, and this is GitHub. We are logging to the GitHub, so that's why I'm giving login/OAuth to get access token. So user info URL is the GitHub URL. So here I need to pass my client ID and my client secret number. Then we can connect with our GitHub as a I'm configuring this client ID. I'm copying here, and I'm copying here, and client secret also I'm copying from here. Client secret. This is client secret. This is my client secret. That's it. I think we done all the changes. Just very simple application to make it understand very easily how the what it will work. So, Civil Cloud version, starter web, OAuth2 and security. Yeah, this is enough. YAML file, configure client ID, client secret, and access token, and this is enough. And here we exposed very simple REST endpoints. Just get a flash and welcome to the OAuth example. Yeah, that's it. Not more than that. I'll start this application. We'll verify. So we'll send client application is our Springboot application now. We'll connecting with the authentication of the OAuth server with request client ID. We are copied, right, client ID and client secret from the GitHub. That client ID we are talking with GitHub client ID only. We are talking with GitHub authentication server. Same client ID from authentication to we are connecting to the authorization server. Then it will generate one access token. That access token will give us to our client application. With that with that access token, we are connecting to the GitHub resource server. Then GitHub resource server, what we will do is it will validate that access token. If everything is okay, then it will provide user details to our client application. Same way, now instead of this HackerRank application, I created one REST endpoint. My REST endpoint will talk to the authentication server and GitHub authorization server. It will get one access token. That access token, again, I'll talk with GitHub resource server. If GitHub resource server is granted, then I'm able to access my endpoint, REST endpoint. That hello application, that hello message will display on the browser. That we are going to test now. Yeah, it is successfully started. So I'll try to send a request from the browser now. I'll try to send request from the browser. What I do is I'll open incognito mode, http colon localhost. This is our default URL, application URL. When I try to hit it, it will contact GitHub. See, it will contacting GitHub. Sign into the GitHub to continue Spring Oauth example. We need to enter my GitHub details. The password is I'm entering the password and username of the GitHub details. Click on sign in. Yeah, it is ask. Okay, this is I enabled two-factor authentication for my GitHub 755 319. Yeah. Now it will talk to see here. You need to authorize this GitHub server. Authorize once the GitHub authorization server once authorized, then only I'm able to log in. Then only I'm able to log in. Authorize will redirect to this URL. Authorize will redirect to this URL. This is where our REST endpoint is there. We secure the REST endpoint with using Git this Oauth2 by authorization server as a GitHub and resource server also GitHub resource server. Then I'm clicking authorize. Once you click authorize, then it will redirect to my browser. It will display the REST endpoint. It will redirect. See, hi, just this is my user, my GitHub user. I'm contacting GitHub to get the user. I'm hi, just 123. Welcome to the Oauth2 example. See, this is where actually what in real time it will work. If you go in my GitHub uh, here is the settings. If you click on application, if I go authorized Oauth application, see my this is the application Spring-Oauth2 example. Spring-Oauth2 example authorized Oauth in GitHub in my GitHub account authorized Oauth apps I'm able to see here. That means our successfully integrated our Oauth application GitHub as a authorization server as a resource server. So if you observe here, I'll send request one more time. I'm creating history. Clear data. What I'll do is I'll open incognito mode. I'll send request one more time to inspect. You are able to see that authentication code and access token internal in browser. If you inspect the browser, we can see that details. So internally, it will GitHub will generate an access token to access GitHub resource server. First, we'll contact authentication server. Authentication server will talk with authorization server. That authorization server is approved. It will, along with that approval, it send one access token. That access token, by using that access token, we'll talk with GitHub resource server to get the user details. So, how I am printing that user details with the help of this principal object. Principal.getName. So I'm able to print that GitHub username here. So what I'm doing is localhost colon 8080 slash. Okay, it is. Okay. If you observe here, or see, actually, this is the see response. It came under. If you go header section, this is a request URL we sent with HTTP method get. If you come here, somewhere some JS session ID, yeah, this is access token, which is provided by GitHub authorization server. This is JS session ID will call as a access token. JS session ID will call as a access token, which is provided by GitHub authorization server. GitHub authorization server. Client ID, I think we cannot see here. Uh, but this is the access token. Just I wanted to showcase this access token. That's why I open inspect element. Uh, this is access token which is provided by GitHub authorization server. With this access token, we'll send again to the GitHub resource server, to get the user details with this access token. Once the GitHub resource server will verify with the decrypt this access token and it will verify if everything is proper, then it will send a username to our client application. Then client application able to access that REST endpoint properly. So see response. Hi Jasu, welcome to the. This username is from GitHub. My GitHub user ID is one Jasu123. Jasu123. Yeah. Yeah, that is very simple way I explained. Actually, we can write our own authorization server. We can write a Spring security configuration file. That Spring security configuration file we can configure our own authorization server, authentication server. We can do that, but to make it understand very simple and very clear, so I took very simple scenario here. It's a very simple scenario here. Hacker rank is the best example to understand what to integration. So what to integration. So I verified so many things, but I came across this is the best example to make it understand what very simple way. That is very simple integration. How we can do what. So nothing, just we need to add three dependencies. One is related to Oauth and other one is cloud security and other one is web. This is for to expose one REST endpoint. I added simple web starter here. Nothing more than that. In application.yaml file, we need to configure client ID, client secret of the GitHub, because GitHub only our authorization server and resource server. So these are all the things we need to configure related to the GitHub. So that is what implementation nowadays the people are using to secure the RESTful web services. So any questions so far, Balu, sir, anything to add here?
No, Shiva, we understood. We understood. I understood.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I'm good.
Mm,
Sir, I
yeah.
think this soft token concept is based on this only, right? Oauth only, right?
Yeah, so, and soft token what, and we have also one more concept called JWT, JSON Web Tokens.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, the tokens
Sir,
concept. Mm,
yeah, I think I'm also using that actually right now
okay.
to log into system. But
Broker, you are using username server.
Sorry, sir.
Like Balakrishna, for those people, they use username server.
yeah, maybe might be that I think backend is I think that concept is different. I think so, sir. I'm not sure about it, but the process will be